On that point, joining us now is Timothy Flanders from OnePeterFive fame. He's also with the Avila Institute and the Mary Queen of the Home Academy, and he joins us this morning. Good morning to you, Timothy. Thank you for your time.
Hey, good morning. Jesus is King. Thanks, Joe.
Now and forever. Praise be to God. Let's talk about, just real quick, though, just like in general, like parents need to choose very carefully how they educate their kids because the fight for their kids' soul is like at a pitched fever battle right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. We've seen more and more public displays of wickedness. Before it was much more insidious. I talked on a podcast recently about Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Noah Webster, these different guys from the so-called Enlightenment way back in the 18th century. They wanted to replace the formation of children by parents with the government. That was their whole goal with public education, and that's what they said. That was their explicit aim. But it was more insidious back then. There was a certain amount of propaganda convincing people, but nowadays it's a lot more upfront.
Yeah, and we saw a huge swing towards homeschoolers with the lockdowns of 2020 and you know all of the insanity that ensued from that era. And a lot of parents had to turn to homeschooling because they were locked out. They were left no choice. And I guess many of those families sort of decided, you know what, this actually works. This is good stuff for our family. And they turned to it. And I think that's been a good thing. I mean, we have been homeschooling our kids going back to, I don't know, 2002, 2003. We started homeschooling our oldest son, praise be to God. And we've been doing it ever since. But not everybody feels like they're up to it. But there's a lot of myths and misconceptions about homeschooling, aren't there?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the most important thing is that, as Lumen Gentium says, Vatican II says this, parents are the first preachers of the faith to their children. It's parents are the educators, period. That's just a foundational reality. And then parents utilize various resources to assist themselves in the formation of their own children. So we're all kind of homeschoolers in a sense. And then some parents choose to utilize different forms of schooling at different points. And every child is also different. Some children just don't work with homeschool. Sometimes you have to use the public schools. Like if you have a child with learning disabilities or different special needs that are difficult for you to provide for in a homeschooling environment. So it's important to emphasize that, you know, we're all homeschoolers in a sense, but we all utilize whatever resources are best for our children.
Well, what I loved about that growth in the homeschooling, world, the community, especially ones that we belong to, is more resources came online because there were more people thinking about the issue. We saw more co-ops come on board, and we participated in some of those co-ops. Praise be to Jesus. And then there's something like what you're doing right now, which is the Avila Institute and the Mary Queen of the Home Academy. This seems very interesting to me as a homeschooling dad. Why don't you tell me about it?
Yeah. So first of all, the Avila Institute is primarily Avila Institute has worked for years with spiritual formation of adults, and the mission statement is to provide spiritual formation, which is mystagogically oriented. Basically, it's about reproposing the mystical tradition of prayer to all Catholics, and so it's primarily spiritual formation for adults. But we've started this homeschool academy. We're now entering our third year. We've just expanded and hired new teachers. And so what it is, it's not just a high school program. It's more of a formation for Catholics post-confirmation. So it's trying to form them in the faith for their adult Catholic life. The primary class for this is the Credo Catechism class, which is where we take what they learned from their confirmation formation, and then we bring them into the mystagogy in a real sense. We teach them, how do you have a rule of life? How do you focus on your spiritual life? How do you learn discipline? How do you learn these different ascetical exercises so that you can become a Catholic adult? And so that's the formation of this post-confirmation reality that they're in. And then the Credo Catechism allows them to take on all the various things that Catholic adults have been debating about and look into those things and face them so that they're prepared for Catholic adult life. And then we also have the formation in all the basic kind of high school classes. We just launched literature this year, the formation of the Great Western Canon. That's a critical formation piece in that children get formed in good literature, because literature provides children with contact with reality in a safe environment, because they need to have contact with reality. But reality has a great deal of evil in it. But when we read literature, we can have that contact with reality without the negative things that one can have when one has contact with reality. Another great course that we're offering is the science course, the first level physical science, which will be built next year with biology and chemistry and whatnot. And that's another important piece for Catholic adult life, because Catholics need to be formed in a true scientific outlook, because we're going to be faced with all these scientific challenges to the faith. And we just saw, as you just mentioned, like COVID, that whole craziness that went on.
Right.
So those are some of the things that we're producing here at Mary, Queen of the Home Academy.
I know in many ways, it's like we have to get our kids prepared to walk into the world, stand on their own 2 feet, be principled individuals based on the Catholic faith, the divinely revealed and inspired religion that God has given to mankind, and be able to interact in society, be able to be able to see where the frauds are, because the scientism alone is something you talked about in a video the other day. It's like they're going to be surrounded by people who are going to embrace the religion of scientism versus actual science. I even seen Augustine in his commentaries on Genesis talk about this difference. He doesn't use those words, but he's basically talking about the same thing. There's no difference between the God who created the world and the God of Revelation. It's the same God. So if there's some sort of disjointed disconnect, you probably don't understand the revelation. You need to go back and dig deeper. St. Augustine was very clear here. And our church has been very clear over the centuries and millennia. And yet too many kids, they walk away post-confirmation. They walk into the world. They go to the university, and then they walk straight out of the church. There's a University of Notre Dame study that just got released this week from the Church Life Journal, basically pointing this out too. Even Notre Dame is pointing it out. You don't have to go so far as the Rad Trad crew commenting on YouTube anymore. Just go to Notre Dame. They'll tell you they're walking away in droves from the Catholic faith. So we do. The fight is on. We must form them well. But too often, Catholic schools, private Catholic schools don't form them well enough. Public schools definitely aren't. And a lot of times the homeschoolers are having to dig deep to get the best content possible to help their kids. And now you're supplementing that.
Yeah, so we just provide a supplement for what your needs are as parents at the high school level. Another course that what is relevant to this discussion is the church history course. So this fall we have part 1, so Church History 101, which goes from Adam and Eve to the year 1773. So it's just ancient history going all the way up to the modern period. And then next year we'll do Bible history, and the third year we'll do the modern period, a full year course on that because it's so complicated. But with history, we've had a lot, even in the Catholic schools, we've had a lot of shame about our history. We've had a lot of just, we're so ashamed of the Inquisition or the Crusades or whatever boogeyman they throw at us.
Sure.
And there's been a lot of apologizing and whatnot. I'm not knocking a certain amount of moderation regarding the way we present those things. I get that. But we need to be proud of our history, be thankful for our forefathers who fought the good fight. And so this formation in church history, we take on all those apologetic angles in the history. We talk about those different aspects of the things that people bring up. Like here we are in the Americas, a common refrain is that the Europeans came here and, killed the Indians and enslaved all the black people and all that stuff. So, one of the things that we cover in this church history course is something that's not very often covered, unfortunately. A lot of church history courses just kind of talk about the elites, like the kings and the princes and their armies. But we talk about the common people and what what they were about. And we talk about the legacy of slavery. Slavery actually came from the Mohammedans. They were the ones who innovated a racist ideology to justify this whole trans-Saharan slave trade before the transatlantic slave trade, which is almost never discussed by anyone.
Never.
So all these different aspects of history that are hidden or propagandized, so that Catholic young adults can really get a formation. They can be proud and happy that they're Catholics and they have this glorious history of the faith.
Yeah. Praise be to God. So right now it looks like you've got 3 instructors to include yourself. Can you take me through who your instructors are, their backgrounds? Sure.
Yeah. So we've got Lucy Simmerer is a a veteran homeschooling mom, and all of her children are adults now in higher education. So she's just she helps out with her parish school, and she teaches math, science, and literature for us. And so this fall and the whole year, she's teaching the Great Western Canon 101 and the science course. And so she is a really, really great educator. She's got a lot of great experience working with homeschoolers and a lot of different homeschool programs, because we're basically supplementing for whatever the requirements are in your state. Every state is different, has different methods, and people are using different programs to get transcripts as well. And Lucy's really great with all that. And then we have Joseph Fryman. Joseph Fryman wrote the book Summa Apologetica. And that text is the textbook for his course, Summa Apologetica, of the same name. And it's basically a Bible of apologetics. And it goes through every conceivable objection to the faith. Wow. In every single different aspect, to really give people some ammo to bolster their own faith and then be ready for the questions that will be thrown at them. So this is a really great course, and I'm really excited for that. So that's a year-long course as well. So those are the main offerings. And then I also teach Latin. So we also mentioned Latin. So there's
hold that thought right there. Timothy Flanders is our guest. We're going to be back in 2 minutes. We're going to take a radio break here. We're going to be back in just about 120 seconds. Praise be to God in all things, and talk more about the Mary Queen of the Home Academy. You can find it, by the way, avila-institute.org. We're going to put a link to it for you in the show notes today to make it easier to find at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. But I want to talk about who this is for, how much it costs, how it all works. We're going to get into the logistics of this. So if you're a homeschooling family, this could be for you and for your kid. More in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
The Catholic Current, bringing Christ to the world and the world to Christ.
I think we have to go into prayer knowing that we're being contested for.
Oh, yes. If we didn't have Guardian Angel guarding us, we would be
a lifesaver to me. I
suckers
listen to it every
and losers
day.
infallibly
to
immensely superior forces.
I'm very grateful for it.
It's just an amazing thing to have as I have moved to Catholicism. Obviously, it's not only helping me, but it's helping so many other people on their walk.
Thank you. God bless you for iCatholic Radio. It has changed my life.
Donate today at thestationofthecross.com.
The Station of the Cross began broadcasting in Buffalo, New York in 1999. Since then, our listening areas have multiplied and expanded into several states. While our mission is to grow the Catholic faith through radio and other media outlets, our apostolate is supportive of but independent from your local diocese. Through your generosity, we are able to inspire countless listeners with the gospel and help lead them to a parish to be spiritually nourished by the sacraments.
At the Station of the Cross, we understand that life circumstances can affect your giving options, whether by moving or by switching banks and credit card numbers. Please let us know if recent changes have been made to your payment information so that we can better serve you as you continue to bless us with your financial support. Update your information today at thestationofthecross.com or by calling 1-877-888-6279, extension 104.
be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClane. Praise be to God. And I'm very grateful to iCatholicMobile.com for sponsoring us here at the station of the Cross Catholic Media Network. They're a wireless phone service company. Yes, they've got 5G, unlimited data. They've got all of the bells and whistles, praise be to God. But, you know, my family just loves the fact that our cell phone company is Catholic. Is yours? I'm just curious. Hey, you can find them at iCatholicMobile.com for more information, but make sure to tell them that we sent you. We'd be grateful. We're having a conversation right now with Timothy Flanders over at Mary Queen of the Home Academy about their curriculum. And, you know, right before the break, I kind of went to break thinking, oh, this is for homeschoolers. Maybe this is not just for homeschoolers. Timothy, welcome back. I imagine like even a family who sends their kids to maybe public school or even a private school, like they could participate, right? It's not just for homeschoolers, is it?
Yeah, it's formation for post-confirmation. So anything you want to supplement, like if you're in a public school situation or whatever you are in, you can take these courses. All of the courses are live and interactive on Zoom. And you can also, there's some students that we have where they have a time conflict or whatever, and they can't make it to the live courses. And so they watch the recording of the course and then they interact with the teacher outside the classroom time setting, but they can still do the homework and do the projects and whatnot. So that's also an option. Not ideal, obviously, but if that's something that you want to take advantage of. One of the courses is the apologetics course is actually at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on Thursdays. So that's outside of the normal day hours as well. Otherwise, our courses take place during school hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So that's the advantage. Every course is $250. It's 1 hour per week with homework every day. Except for the Latin class meets twice a week. So that's $375. But you can also pay what you can because we want to work with homeschooling families, people who, you know, don't have the income or whatever to cover everything. We also have that option to work with them as well. So those are some of the logistics.
And so I'm seeing here algebra is going to be on the docket soon. Hopefully that's going to get on the schedule. It's very interesting because we use, for our family, we've been using a program now for many years. We've been using it actually for all of our kids, and it's a Protestant fellow who does it. He's been great though. He teaches it very simply, but it'd be nice to have a Catholic course and a curriculum teaching that. That'd be really nice, and one you can interact with because all of ours are DVD based. So that, especially for a course like math, where the kid has to ask the same questions over and over again because the concepts are hard to get or whatever, and you just need that sort of nuanced one-on-one. This sounds like a very affordable, doable thing. And that the prices you just quoted are those are per semester. That's not per class, right?
Correct. It's per semester. So a lot of these are, so like the church history course is 1 semester, and then I switched the Credo class in the spring for Lent. But the literature, apologetics, and science are all full year courses. So it's $250 for the fall and then $250 again for the spring semester.
Okay. Latin 101, Latin 102. So there's a lot of Latin there, praise be to Jesus. That's not really taught all that much. I know a lot of Catholic schools that don't teach Latin anymore. That seems to have fallen away. And yet our legal system, our healthcare system, let alone the liturgical life of the church, all based on Latin. Why do you think Latin has suffered so much? Why does it need to come back?
Well, there's this great document called Vetera Sapientiae in 1962 that was released in the spring before Vatican II happened that same fall. And John the 23rd warned the bishops of the world to beware of the revolutionaries who want to overthrow Latin. And why do they hate Latin so much? It's like, well, it's just a language, but it's actually the building block of Christendom itself in everything. Latin is what enables philosophy because, or I should say language enables philosophy. So the language is what forms the philosophical framework in which a man thinks. This is why Greek is so important, because Greek philosophy is very important, but Latin philosophy in particular gives us what we call Romanitas, which is the particular Roman culture, which was pre-Christian and adopted by the church in the basic framework of the way that the church thinks in her philosophical outlook. And this is what allows the Roman Catholic Church to rule the world, because Romanitas provides that philosophical legal framework, also the liturgical framework. And this is the language in which was written all the classics of the Western civilization, which really founded so much of our framework, of our reference. So they want to overthrow Latin because it's a building block of Christendom. It's a building block of Western civilization.
Right.
And learning Latin is what provides. So this course, because at the Avila Institute, unfortunately, a lot of homeschool courses, even that they teach Latin, you're learning words like gladius, for example, which means sword. You're learning how Marcus is a vir who has a gladius, which is all great, but it's a lot of classical vocabulary, classical terminology. We're talking about Caesar. Now, that's great, but it's limited because our course focuses on ecclesiastical Latin. We focus on teaching Latin, the Latin of the Mass, so that children can hear the music. In particular, we use a lot of music in our course, music to enter into the mystagogical reality of the church's music in Latin. And almost all of the church's Western tradition is music in Latin. And it's really hard to interact with that if you're against Latin in the first place, or if you don't have any knowledge of Latin. And so that's what we focus on. And so I'm really excited about this course, and I love teaching Latin. It's like one of my favorite things to teach.
I can tell. Praise be to God. So on the docket, I'm seeing you have church history starting September the 11th. We just talked about the Latin. That starts September the 9th. I look at physical science starting September the 3rd. We've got the Summa Apologetica 101 starting September the 4th. We've got literature starting September the 3rd. So there's a full docket there starting very, very soon, less than a month now. Can families choose one? Can they choose all? Like, is there some sort of minimum to sign up for?
No, there's no minimum, because this is just a supplemental. We don't provide a cohesive curriculum. We're just supplementing the curriculum that you already have. And so eventually, hopefully, we'll grow to provide something more like that. But yes, you can take one. There's no minimum. There is a deadline, however. We have a deadline for one more week. So August 20 is the final deadline for signing up for all the courses. So sign up. Gotta
hurry. All right. So then I guess the next question is, what do you hope to do in the next couple of years? We have a couple minutes left here, but in the next few years, how do you want to expand this? If you could get anything you want and expand this to whatever you wanted it to look like, what would that look like?
Well, we're going to build out the literature formation. So we'll have 3 or 4 years of literature formation, because the first year here is classical literature. So this is all pre-Christian literature. And I say pre-Christian as opposed to pagan in the sense of a negative pagan aspect. We would build out the science curriculum as well. The math, we did not have the enrollment we needed to get that going this month, or of this year. So hopefully next year we can get the math program going. And then we'll also have a 3-year program in church history that'll be starting this year, Bible history, then modern period. But I also want to really focus on providing courses which are of a practical nature. And that's because a lot of high school programs focused on a lot of abstract knowledge that is not as practical as adults need, like economics, different aspects of that, politics, how to interact with the adult world. So those are some of the things long term.
Yeah, praise be to God. Timothy Flanders, so grateful for your time today. Thanks for getting up and being on the team. And we're going to put a link to this Mary Queen of the Home Academy. And if you're going to consider it, you do need to consider it within a week now, because the deadline is coming fast. Avila-institute.org is the main website. Again, we're going to put a link to it in the show notes over at thestationofthecross.com/ACT, where you'll find it in the show notes here in just a couple of minutes. We're going to go into the after show and continue to take your questions and your comments and whatever you want to talk about. But Timothy Flanders, God bless you. God love you, my friend. We'll look forward to having you back soon. We'll see you guys Monday morning.